if you're feeling a little stressed these days, you're probably causing your dog to feel a little stressed these days. And I'm going to talk to you about my own meltdown and how to get through this in a much better way. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Kathy Kowalik, and I believe that our dogs connect us to the heart and soul of what really matters in life. So hang out, and we'll take a deep dive into the human-dog connection and explore strategies that will inspire you to create legendary, enlightened partnership with your dog. This is the Enlightened by Dogs podcast. Well, hello, Kathy Kowalik here, and thank you so very much for being here today. And today I thought I would share a personal experience that demonstrates just how powerful breathing and connecting to nature can be and how smart our dogs are. And first, I'd like to share a few interesting bits of science from the neuroscience school. All right, so we all know that we must breathe to sustain life, but did you know that how we breathe influences our brain in multiple ways? It's all about our breathing style, like fast or slow, regular or irregular, through the nose or through the mouth. And our breathing affects our perception, emotion, cognition, and even our mood. And the breath is, we could think of the breath as like the central regulator of higher cognition. And quoting the neuroscience school, the emerging consensus view from both animal and human neuroimaging studies places the breath and its role in modulating neuronal rhythms as a central regulator of higher order cognition. Through the pathways, including the olfactory pathways, respiration can be seen as a global rhythm that regulates how and when we process stimuli arising in the body and in the world. End quote. And so we have like three pathways that our respiration processes through, and the olfactory, our nose, is interesting. And so there are certain pieces of the brain that are directly influenced by breathing through the nose and what the breath is stimulating in like the back of our nose and how that connects to our brain. And so it's so interesting. So our breathing regulates arousal, attention, and stress responses. And we know through research and maybe our own experiences that longer, slower breaths are optimal for feeling calm and healthy. So things like yoga, meditation, exercise, heart rate variability training can help people learn how to breathe in that longer, slower breathing type of way. And when you're with a person or a dog or other animal who is stressed and whose breathing is disordered, if you remain calm and start breathing in a slow, rhythmic manner, then the other person and or your dog will start to slow down their breathing and to sync with yours, and they will become calmer. Now, we can also think of that through the lens of emotional contagion, so what is emotional contagion? Well, it's a condition or an experience observed in predominantly psychological science where similar emotional responses quickly spread among a group of people. And social psychology has long established that an individual's behavior can heavily influence the behavior of others around them and vice versa. And of course, we see this also in other types of social mammals like animals that gather in herds, etc. So it's interesting that a person's choice of words, voice inflection, facial feedback, body language, and sense of energy can all prompt emotional changes in those around them, whether they're family members and friends or colleagues, even total strangers, and of course, our dogs. I mean, we've talked about the polyvagal system in past episodes. And so this is like a little shift in perspective through the lens of breathing and nature, which we're going to get to in a second. And so why is emotional contagion important in this conversation? And I think it's because it helps explain the ways that nonverbal cues and social mimicry can affect perceptions of well-being, outlooks on life, and decision-making. And people with strong emotional intelligence, or those who can easily pick up on the emotional expressions of others, show greater susceptibility to emotional contagion. Now, our dogs, all dogs, and of course, there are individuals and breeds that are even more highly sensitive and emotionally intelligent. So think about this through the lens of our dog's experience. And so what we can say here is that our dogs, especially our most sensitive dogs, show a greater susceptibility to emotional contagion. So this cuts in both ways, right? Positive emotional contagion can bring about positive emotions in others, while negative social contagion can bring about negative emotions. And so we want to keep that in mind. And this is why I talk so much about our role as being the leading co-regulator and et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so now one more piece I wanted to add here, and before I get into the other story, is about how spending time in nature reduces stress. And so this is interesting. So the amygdala is a brain region that responds to stress. And when we're stressed, it becomes more active. So it kind of like lights up in those images that we see. And so reducing activity in the amygdala helps manage stress levels. And a recent study from the Max Planck Institute of Human Development in Germany found that one way to reduce brain activity in that region is to take a walk in nature. How cool is that? All right, so from the neuroscience school, the implications are that the study shows that a walk in nature can reduce amygdala activity, whereas a walk in an urban environment does not. And so this was a randomized controlled trial. So the nature walk was causal, meaning that the nature walk was responsible for the decrease in the amygdala activation. And participants who went for a walk in nature also felt that their attention had been restored, but not so for those who went for an urban walk. Quote, moreover, participants who went for a nature walk enjoyed the walk more than those who went for a walk in the urban environment. End quote. So nature is a proven way to manage stress. Now, other research has found that walks in nature reduce cortisol levels, diminish sympathetic nerve activity, decrease blood pressure and heart rate. Spending time in nature decreases rumination, like thought loops, right? And it reduces neural activity in the part of the brain associated with anxiety and depression, a part of the prefrontal cortex. So how cool is that, right? Nature also can boost our creativity and our capacity to think clearly. Being out in nature rests our top-down direct attention faculties, or it's like the parts of our brain that are involved in effortful thinking, which are constantly triggered by the stimuli of urban environments. So that part of our brain is rested when we are out enjoying nature. I mean, think about the implications for our dogs, especially our reactive dogs. And quote, "We're hardwired to feel at home and at ease, not in the city or in the suburbs, but in nature." End quote. And here's another reason to pay attention to what our dogs already know and try to teach us and role model for us. According to Harvard entomologist E.O. Wilson, quote, "We have evolved to have an innate tendency to seek connections with nature. Since we as a species grew up in nature, we are biologically programmed to be drawn to it." End quote. And I know that you would agree our dogs feel the same way, and they're social mammals as well, right? And so we could definitely say that this is applicable to our dogs as well. Now, it doesn't have to be a walk. This is from the studies. It doesn't have to be a walk. It doesn't have to be in a forest. Being in nature could just be sitting in a park where you're able to, be quiet and connect with the nature around you. It could even be in your yard or in your garden with the intention of connecting with nature with your dog. Okay, so I thought I would share a personal experience that demonstrates just how powerful breathing and connecting to nature can be, as well as specific breathing tips that work really well for me. And so I'm going to share an audio clip that is from a 2020 episode that I recorded back then when the world as we knew it was falling apart, with the pandemic and everything. And honestly, I was too. So it was, I had a bit of a meltdown. And so rather than tell you more about it, let's just go ahead and dub in that clip here so that you can get the full effect and learn from my experience and apply it to your own life. And I do hope that you put these tips and these, into practice in your own life. And of course, please do let me know how it goes and what you took away from this episode. Okay. Let's play that clip. So, oh my goodness, things are a little stressful these days. Yeah, with all the things that are going on in the world, with the pandemic and all the worries that go along with it. The whole picture. So if you're anything like me, you've been feeling the effects of that. And even if you're relatively balanced and able to keep yourself calm, we're being hard pressed to work a little harder at that, perhaps. I know I sure am. And, so, I had a meltdown the other day, just an accumulation of, all the things that are happening in the world and the worries that brings with it. My husband got laid off, and that means that we're losing our health insurance, so there's that big worry. And then I've got, a couple of health concerns with a couple of my dogs. And I decided to do a big partnership workshop with a 5-day challenge to help support dog moms that are already living with a lot of stress with their dogs and their dog's behavior. And, when we combine that with all the other things that are happening, it can be overwhelming. So, but, that entailed, long days and a lot of intense work and being on, for, a lot. And then to be honest, I'm not used to having my husband home with me. And so that was causing its own, level of stress. Not that he's, personally stressing me, just like having him here and having to recalibrate to, like working from home while there's someone else here. You know what I mean? And so anyway, so all the things all combined to me having a moment, and for me and for me to feel very like just overwhelmed, and I needed to release this apparently. So it happened on my morning walk. So I've got my morning routine, and that includes going for a walk with my dogs. I take my dogs with me, and I love being out in nature. I incorporate some meditation and an intentional practice in addition to my GLA practice and, all the things. And so, it pulls together a lot of pieces that help keep me balanced, make me happy, and start my day off in a really good way. Well, the other day that didn't quite go as planned. And I just stopped under a tree, and it just started coming out of me. I mean, I was like sobbing, my whole body was just releasing stress and pressure and overwhelm. And so there it was, just so all these things were just combining, and, I'm kind of a keep my head down and go to work. And, I take care of myself. I have a morning routine. I do my meditations and so I'm really good about staying balanced and grounded, or getting back there if I get thrown off. But it was just, one of those days. And so there I was out on the morning walk, and it was just like, I don't know, it just came to a head, I guess. And I just had a meltdown. I was like crying. I was like sobbing, and, my dogs are all like, what's wrong? What's going on? We're usually happy and playing. And, and there's mom, standing there under the tree, having a meltdown. And then of course, so I'm crying, my eyes are all red. And so there I am, I needed to release, right? And so I'm just letting it out. It's like, okay, I just need to let this out and let it process and not hold it, because I was holding it inside, right? I was holding all this stress and all this pressure inside. And so I'm just letting it out and crying, and okay, I'm like, okay, all right. My thoughts are starting to spiral about all the things that are wrong, and I know what to do about that, right? And so I started breathing. And so I wanted to get back to balance, back to center, enjoy my time, my morning time with my dogs, my morning time in nature. It's really important to me, right? This is like, I can't function without this, right? And so I just made the choice to stop the thought loops and start breathing. And so I just started doing that. And so, nice belly breathing, breathing in for 5, breathing out for 8, and just letting all of that stuff release, and letting my thoughts turn to, something that I love. And so I turned to my dogs and my, and my work, and how grateful I am and how blessed I am to be able to do what I do, to be able to, be standing there with my dogs, loving me and connecting to me. And so I, created that feeling in my heart, in my chest, deep belly breathing, letting that feeling fill my body, fill my cells, let that feeling, the active breathing stimulate my vagus nerve, which is, your vagus nerve goes all through your body. It's like tree roots, right? And it goes all through your body. It's connected to all of your organs, and it just kind of weaves in and out of all your organs. And your heart and your gut and all through and all the way up to your brain. And, within a few minutes, I felt renewed, refreshed, ready to take on the day, ready to enjoy the rest of my walk with my dogs, and ready to do what I do, ready to come back to who I am and back to center, back to balance. And, and so my dogs lost that worried look on their face, and we enjoyed the rest of our walk, and we played, and we enjoyed one another, and we laughed, and life is good. Life is good. And so that's what I want you to be able to do with your dogs. So it's so important that we can do this, because how we are and how we breathe and how we come back to balance is so important to our dogs. Our dogs mirror us. They feed off of us. They're so attuned to us, and we have the capacity, the capability, the everything we need to not only calm ourselves and choose our thinking and align ourselves with the kind of life that we want to create for ourselves and for our dogs, but we also have the capacity and capability and everything we need to influence our dogs to be happy and calm, or relaxed and calm, whatever. And we can do this with intentionality. And so the breathing is one of the ways that we can do this. It's maybe the one and only thing we need to know. I don't know, but it's so important. We can't leave this out. We can't leave this out of our partnership lifestyle. It's just, it's not possible to be a brilliant partner. It's not possible to help your dog who is struggling with, big emotions and behaviors that are communicating their big emotions. You know what I mean? It's not possible to help our dogs work through that without breathing with intentional breathing. It's really not possible to be effective. We can be somewhat effective, but we really can't be fully effective, and we definitely cannot be masterfully effective without being an intentional breather. Okay. So that's what I want you to do. And I want you to understand that, this is science. This is not like woo woo, yoga, new age, mindful, buzzword stuff. This is science. And if you allow your lizard brain to dismiss the power of intention, like we're doing with the breathing, then you're going to be stuck in your lizard brain. And your lizard brain is in charge of fight or flight. That's what your lizard brain is in charge of. And we have the ability to influence that through our breathing and through the mind-body connection, which is what our vagus nerve system with our, this whole thing is all connected. And so we have the ability to do this. And so our vagus nerve it's the longest nerve in our body. It's a pair of nerves that is, on the left and the right side of us. It's called vagus because it wanders like a vagrant among our organs. It's responsible for the mind-body connection, for its role as a mediator between thinking and feeling. And it's so powerful. And so stimulating the vagus nerve has a powerful effect of slowing our heart rate. And this is what helps us to relax. This is what also directly helps our dogs to relax. The vagus nerve is basically listening to the way we breathe, it sends the brain and the heart whatever message our breath indicates. So breathing slowly, releases the oxygen demands of the heart muscle, and our heart rate drops. The vagus nerve is, it's in charge of the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest, or the chill out, or the fight or flight, the do something, stress releasing, adrenaline, cortisol response, right? And so we can think of, put another way, your body senses your breathing and adapts its heart rate to that, in response to that. And so all of this is connected, and it's connected to our brain. And when we breathe out, the brain sends that information to slow down or speed up. And so when we breathe slowly and we breathe out slowly and fully, the heart slows, we can relax. And conversely, when we breathe quickly, our heart speeds up, we feel amped, we feel anxious. And so this, not only does that obviously affect our physiology, it affects the way we think, it affects our thought loops, it affects our heart rate, which affects what we do next. And it has a significant effect on our dogs and how our dogs respond. And that's a topic for a whole nother podcast of the significant influence that we have on our dogs and if we do that with intention and mindfulness, oh my gosh, it's amazing how powerful this is and how simple it is. And this is one of the huge reasons why we can live a brilliant partnership lifestyle with our dogs. And we have dogs that are behaving and they love to listen and they are responsible and they get so much freedom because of our ability to be mindful and intentional. I mean, this is what our partnership is based on, without resorting to dog training and a transactional relationship. So this is the thing. This is one of the things that makes this possible, that makes it happen. And so, there's all this synchronicity. So anyway, all right. So we've got, this breathing thing, we can do this with intentional. And so just, you want to breathe through your belly. You don't want to raise your shoulders. You want to breathe through your belly so that your belly literally expands out. You're filling up the lower lobes of your lungs and you're expanding out your belly. You can put your hand on your belly and feel your hand raise and lower as you breathe in and out through your belly. And so you can enhance that effect, that relaxing, calming effect, by having your exhale a little bit longer than your inhale. So start counting, in for 5, out for 5. That's basic, but you can also do in for 5, out for 7, or out for 8. And that'll even enhance the relaxing bit even more, right? And so if you want to be more alert, like if you're going to do some, activity, you might want to do just in for 5, out for 5. But if you truly want to relax and calm yourself and your dog, then go in for 5, out for 8. All right. And then you can enhance this breathing even more by using the heart math method. And again, that's a kind of a topic for a whole nother episode, which maybe I'll do that like pretty soon because it's pretty interesting. But what we're doing is we're breathing, but we're also bringing in an intentional feeling. And so we're generating love, appreciation, and gratitude for someone or something special in your life while we breathe. And so that's what I was doing when I had my meltdown, right? I was, breathing in and out the feeling of love and gratitude, for my dogs and for my life, all of it. And that truly enhances, so many things. It like magnifies our calm. It like magnifies our ability to make that mind-body connection and to become synchronous with our dogs, especially if you have a dog that needs extra help with calming, if you have a dog that's easily aroused or easily triggered or more sensitive and fearful or worry, breathe with the feeling of love for your dog, and you will become in sync with your dog, and your dog's heart rate will match your heart rate. This has been proven with, scientific studies that this is what happens. And so we have this ability. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to start doing this every day. And anytime you need extra help, and definitely anytime you're having a meltdown and you want to come out to the other side of it. But this is a partnership lifestyle. This is what we do. This is all about us learning to be the kind of person that not only is intentionally creating the life that we want for ourselves, but for others, for our family, for our friends, for our neighbors, and expanding out in ripples throughout the world. This is what being a brilliant partner means. This is what living a brilliant lifestyle, partnered lifestyle looks like. So there you go. I'm going to leave you with that. So go off and breathe and be brilliant. And I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening. And hey, if you would like to work with me so that I can help you discover the missing pieces you need so that you and your dog can finally be happy and enjoy life together, then head on over to dancingheartsdogacademy.com and request your invitation to join us in the Brilliant Partners Academy when the doors open for the next enrollment. See you next time, and remember, a brilliant partnership with your dog makes your whole life brilliant.